Welcome to this week's edition of Reverse Mortgage Weekly, where we talk about the reverse mortgage program and go over education that's useful, that's beneficial, so that you have great education to make an educated decision about this wonderful program. It's been changing the lives of many active adults, folks in their 60s, and in some cases, even in their 50s. That's a misconception that you have to be 62 to do this program. There are some programs that will allow you to do this at 55, actually. So, my name is Zach Smith. I'm your host. I've been in the mortgage and real estate industry for over 20 years. And, I think I'm having some technical difficulties here. I'm going to just reshare my screen here so that we get the right information. By golly. Let's see here. Okay, I think that's the good stuff there. So let me go ahead and switch over. So who qualifies again? 62 or better, 55 in some cases. Does need to be your primary residence. So you'd have to live in the property at least 6 months in a day. FHA programs are by large the most popular. There are minimal income requirements. We spent some time on that on some of our past presentations, so we're going to go past that today. We're going to go into some of the other items about this program. Here's some more information. Again, I'm skipping over some of these first slides because we've covered them in, excuse me, in past presentations. And if you'd like to see some of the past presentations, these are all streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free to go to my YouTube channel. We've got several of these that we've gone over in the past, and this information is available. So that's one of the reasons I like the webinar platform, because it's there forever. You can go back and look at it, view other classes, things like that. So I try to switch things up a little bit. These are the two biggest myths about the reverse mortgage programs: that you lose title to your home. It's not true. And that you're upside down right after you take one. Well, that just doesn't make any sense. It does take a long time. Can you go upside down? Yes, you can, but it takes a really, really long time. So what I want to focus on to start off here is retirement in America. Now, this is a subject that any financial planner will proceed to talk your ear off about it, because they care. They see people going through this every day. It's the same thing with reverse mortgage planners that do emphasize on retirement, financial well-being. Some folks, especially with the downturn in the mortgage industry, some folks are just, hey, this is just another way to earn a commission, essentially. But we've been doing this a long time, and I'm dedicated to teaching these classes, not only because it's good for my business, but I want people to understand this program. You don't have to get a reverse mortgage through us. You can get it through anybody. In fact, a lot of the folks on our YouTube channel are in states that I'm not licensed in, but this is still good information for every person to know, especially, because I've seen so many people suffer in retirement financially when the solution was right there in front of them the whole time. But they let somebody talk about, oh, it's a bad idea. You're going to go upside down on your house. It's negatively amortizing. And that's one thing I want to make very clear. This loan can be negatively amortizing, but there's still a monthly payment with the reverse mortgage. So what that means is that if you don't want it to be negatively amortizing, you can treat it just like a normal mortgage. Now, 95% of my clients choose not to make that payment because the payment is optional with a reverse mortgage. But if you wanted to make a payment every month and pay off the loan just like you would a normal mortgage, you can certainly do that. So going upside down or the negative amortization is a choice. And that's the real key, is that it's a choice that you make. The bank doesn't make it for you. When you're in a normal mortgage, the bank makes it for you. And guess what they decided to do? They decided to give us these 30-year fixed loans. Well, did you know you pay 50% of the interest on a 30-year fix in the first 10 years that you're in that note? So what does that mean? That means that in the first 10 years, you're taking your hard-earned money that you're making at your job, or your hard-earned money you're making or that you're earned from retirement, cash out of pocket from your life savings, You're putting that all into the mortgage payment so that you can help the bank get more interest from you. So, a lot of my clients look at that situation and say, wait a minute. So, I'm paying off my loan, doing what they asked me to do, but they're going to make me pay 50% of that interest in the first 10 years. Is basically compounding interest in reverse stacked against the consumer. That's our 30-year fixed loan. That's what we got. 15 years, a little bit better, but it's still an amortized payment. So again, a lot of my clients see that and say, well, wait a minute, if I'm going to be taking money out of my life savings to pay my mortgage, why don't I just keep that in my pocket instead of making that monthly mortgage payment? So again, that's kind of the premise of how things work with the reverse mortgage. So moving on here. These are three buckets of finance, and make good notes in regards to these buckets. The first bucket's your income. As you can see, that arrow is coming out. Usually we're making income pre-retirement. And what are we doing? Well, we're saving income. We're saving money, put it into our 401k, put it into savings, our nest egg. And then we're also paying off our mortgage. We're paying it down slowly. 30 years worth, but there are some folks, and if you really want to pay off your home aggressively, which essentially means less interest, you want to get yourself into a simple interest loan. That is the best way to pay off your loan aggressively, because if you pay a large down payment, you can pay off your home aggressively in a 30-year fixed. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But by paying simple interest, you do it just much faster. So that's something that we offer as well. You can always go to our website, All in One Loan. That's the number one, allinOneLoan.com. I digress here. So the three buckets of finance, we have our income, we're making income, we're saving it, and then we're also paying off our home. Remember that this slide here, we'll come back to it. So again, the state of affairs in regards to retirement in the United States is pretty bleak. This was a survey that was done a few years ago, and they surveyed hundreds of people, and less than 26% of the respondents said they had less than $1,000 saved for retirement. And as you can see here, 1,000 to 10,000, 16%, 10,000 to 24,000, 12%, 25,000. So basically what this is telling us is that the people that are saving are just not saving enough in regards to retirement. So again, pre-retirement, we're making income, we're saving. Sometimes we're saving more, sometimes we're saving less, and we're paying down our home equity. So post-retirement, these buckets change quite a bit. Now, the first change that we often see in retirement is bucket number one. And what that does is it shrinks. A lot of times when we're in retirement, pensions were kind of a thing of the past. In the 70s and 80s, our politicians got together and said, you know what? Pensions really aren't a good thing for the American people. Let's give them a 401k. Let's put, we're going to let you decide, and you get your 401k and you're going to use that for your retirement. Well, has that worked out well for Americans? I don't know. I'm a proponent of pensions. They're a little more expensive for the corporations, a little more expensive for the employees, though. So, or for the employers. I don't know that we're going to see those come back. But, state departments, things like that still have them. Teachers, great pension programs. Again, income usually becomes more limited because we're not working as much. And we're also on a fixed income. We're on Social Security, we're pensions, annuities, things like that. So the second change that we see is with bucket number two. Bucket number two becomes vitally important because we don't know how long we're going to need those funds. So your nest egg becomes vitally important because you could live to 70, you could live to 80, you could live to 90, you could live to 100. You don't know. So if you live to 70, you have to save much differently than if you live to 100. We're talking 30 years of savings that you're going to have to account for. And again, I know I'm echoing all the sentiments from our financial planners out there. We have a lot of financial planners that watch our videos, and this is why, because we're both kind of beating the same drum when it comes to this. There is an issue with retirement in America for the most part. But the one thing that sometimes is not focused on is the fact that the last bucket, your home equity, is larger. You've paid off a lot of your mortgage over the years. And here recently from 2020 on, I mean, my gosh, home prices have really gone up, especially here in Colorado. So you have a lot of equity available. But the problem with equity is that it's not liquid. So what does that mean? Well, equity is great to have, but it's a lot like having that glass coffee table right in the middle of your living room full of cash that you can't get to. It's not like you can take a picture of your home and go to the grocery store and show the cashier get your groceries, you're getting ready to check out and, okay, how you want to pay for that? Well, it's got a picture of my house here. It's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. We can't eat equity. So oftentimes what we see are people who have limited cash flow, who are, eating bologna sandwiches every day, just barely scraping by, in a huge house with a ton of equity that's not doing anything for them. So, in the worst case, even a worst case is, like an example of one of our clients that we had the pleasure of working with last year, where she was taking money out of her savings, out of bucket number 2, every single month so that she could pay her mortgage payment. She had lost her husband a few years before, and she wanted to stay in her house. So she didn't have enough money to make it. Her cash flow is really low. She's on a low Social Security. So each month she had to supplement her income by taking money out of her savings. So she was 70 years old. And guess how much she had in savings? She had about $12,000 in savings. She was still in relatively good health. She could live another 20, 30 years. We don't know. So that is a recipe for disaster, financial disaster. And you know what usually happens in that situation, and we see it all the time, is that she will liquidate her savings at some point. And then once her savings is gone, well, what's the next advice that most people are going to give her? Well, sell your house. Sell your house, take the proceeds, and live off of that. Well, then you have to put yourself in a position to pay rent, which is really just kind of throwing money down the drain. I was talking to a fellow the other day who's considering a reverse mortgage, and he's renting one bedroom apartment here in town, and it's a nice apartment, $1,800. So he's paying someone else $20,000 so that he can rent that one room apartment. There's no tax benefits with that. I mean, it's just really just not a great setup. And he has to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, close living quarters, right next to other people. And some people enjoy that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Some people like living on top of each other, right next to each other. But our client was not one of those people. She had a beautiful rose garden in her front yard that she had cultivated for years. She did not want to leave. She wanted to stay in her home. But it was becoming a bit bleak because she was running in the red every single month. So what we did was we converted her existing mortgage, it's about $1,400 principal and interest each month. We converted that into a payment optional program. So now, if she wants to make that payment, she can. And this is not talked about enough about the reverse mortgage. A lot of folks think that you just don't make a mortgage payment, you go upside down, the negative amortization. Yes, that's all part of it. And some of it is by choice. Take me, for example. When I'm 62 or when I come of age to get a reverse mortgage, I'm running down to the bank to get a reverse mortgage. And the reason is it's part of my whole financial plan to do that. And we can go into more detail if you want to schedule time with me in regards to that. But getting back to our story, so we eliminated or converted her current mortgage payment of the $1,200. We converted that into a payment optional plan with a reverse mortgage. So now, instead of the money coming out of her savings and back into the green bucket, well, now it's going from her red bucket into the yellow bucket. So she's actually got money going into her savings now instead of money coming out of her savings. And again, savings does a lot of work for you in your retirement because you can access it. You can go down to the grocery store and pay with groceries with your savings. You can't do that with your house. And if you want to stay in your house, and the fact is that housing is probably the largest expense that anybody has. Me, you, whoever's watching this video, unless you own your property free and clear, then your living expense is going to be your highest expense. So to eliminate that at the time that you need it, when you need cash flow, is a huge advantage. And that's why this program is so wildly popular right now with seniors, because it helps them with their cash flow and they have the equity to do it. It's my assertion that if you're 62 or over, you should not be making a mortgage payment any longer. You shouldn't. If you own your home free and clear, great. And a lot of people actually take out the reverse mortgage. They own their home free and clear. You'd be surprised. A lot of people think that this program is a program of last resort, but that's not the case at all. A lot of people like to take that line of credit out as a safety net, a financial safety net. Because one of the things that folks know, and again, I could keep going back to our financial planners, because we're talking about your financial future. That's why. So if you let your money grow in the market, it's going to be much, much better to leave your money in the market. Would you rather pass on a higher net worth or more equity? 9 times out of 10, when people are bequeathed a property, what's the next thing they do? They sell it. A lot of times they don't want the property. Sometimes it's a family home. They have memories. They want to move into it. They want to rent it out, whatever, keep it in the family. Personally, I think it's a great idea to keep real estate. I'm going to beat that drum forever. But most people will just sell it. They don't want to deal with the headache. So they want the cash anyways. So if you're going to pass on a higher net worth, if you have the choice, do you want to pass on a higher net worth or less equity? A lot of times I guarantee the kids will say, well, hey, we'd like to inherit a higher net worth. So folks who own their home free and clear, by not going into their investment accounts during the down times, or even for any unforeseen expense, a lot of times the question I'll ask folks during my presentations, I'm certified to teach for the state here in Colorado. And a lot of times what I'll ask them is, hey, I got a suitcase full of cash here, $1 million, or I got a penny that doubles every day for 31 days. Which one do you want? Do you want the penny or do you want the cash? And most people have heard this before, so they take the penny, because if you double a penny every day for 31 days, guess how much it's worth? It's worth over $10 million. Go ahead, do the math. Over $10 million. But if you take that penny out at 15 days, it's only worth about $116. Same thing with our investment accounts. If you keep the money in, you start to realize the rule of 72. You start to realize exponential growth in your investment accounts. But if you start withdrawing early, that's why they tell people to take Social Security later as well. You get more cash. But if you start withdrawing your retirement funds early, you're not going to realize the potential that your investment accounts that you've worked so hard all your life to fulfill. You're not going to realize that potential unless you let them grow. So a lot of folks will say, hey, I paid off my house. I did everything right. I'm going to go ahead and take out a line of credit on my home. I don't have to take any cash out. You just have it there just in case. So you can take out a line of credit. You have it there just in case. And if something unforeseen happens, medical bills, or maybe you have a midlife crisis and you want to go out and buy a Maserati or something like that, well, it's much better to take it out of your home equity, because then, one, you don't have a monthly payment unless you choose to make that monthly payment. So if you choose not to make a monthly payment on your Maserati, well, then you don't make it. And number two, the other reason is that you don't interrupt that growth on your retirement funds. So again, if you're over 62, it's my assertion, and I'll stand on this, you shouldn't be making a mortgage payment any longer. Because if you are making a mortgage payment, you're either taking it from your tiny bucket, the income, your bucket that's usually smaller in retirement, or you're taking it from your crown jewel, your life savings, when you usually have an abundance of equity. So that's really the philosophy behind the reverse mortgage, is leveraging real estate for victory, instead of being in a situation where you basically liquidate all your funds, your yellow bucket, And then you're in a position where you basically need to sell the property so you can access the green bucket. We got it backwards. And several studies have shown this over time. Texas Tech did a study. There's several others that have done studies that show that if you use home equity in your financial planning tool, that your survivability of your assets raises exponentially. So that's one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest problems that a lot of my clients see is running out of cash in retirement. And it's a real concern because you see it every day. You see folks who run out of cash. And again, the next thing is they sell their house and then they're renting, and then that just adds to the pain later on. Well, if you eliminate your housing costs and you start saving and your cash flow goes up, well, you could live in your property, age in place for the rest of your life without ever having to worry about making another mortgage payment. So that's kind of the road, and that's kind of the picture that is really saving a lot of people in retirement right now. So again, pre versus post-retirement buckets, income, saving, you're making income pre-retirement, saving it in your assets, and paying off your home loan. Post-retirement, we're not making as much. That bucket shrinks. This bucket becomes vitally important. And this last bucket is usually just there quite solvent because you've been paying on that mortgage. Hopefully, you've been paying on that mortgage for 30 years and you've got your home almost paid off. So again, there's a lot of home equity available right now with seniors. This graph shows that. Again, what is home equity? Well, it's cash that's there. You got, it's kind of like, again, I always go to that analogy of a glass coffee table full of cash that you can't get to. Well, what the reverse mortgage does is it just gives you a little drawer so you can open up that glass coffee table full of cash, pull it out when you need it. You don't need to take the whole thing. You don't need to even take any if you don't want, but you have the option to access it. And that is the key. And that's what's making this program so attractive for people. So, equity doesn't really benefit you in retirement. Is it better to pass on a higher net worth or more equity? I guess that's a question for you and your heirs. What do people usually do with a home that's bequeathed? Again, they usually just sell it. And does cash do better in your pocket or locking it up in the home? It's kind of like folks who buy house cash. I know I'm biased because I'm a lender. I make a living off of helping people finance real estate. But here's the thing. If you buy a house cash, let's say you buy a house $400,000, you buy it cash, you just handed that $400,000 over to either a buyer or you handed it over to a bank. Now, let me explain. Because once you put that $400,000 cash in, you have $400,000 in equity. You have that glass coffee table with $400,000 in there, but you can't get to it. If you want to get to it, what do you have to do? Well, you got to sell the property in order to get that $400,000 back. So if you sell the property, basically putting that $400,000 in the hands of a buyer. Well, the other option you have is you can call someone like me, a lender, and you can basically take a loan out to get that $400,000 back out or a portion thereof. So if you do that, you've put that $400,000 in the hands of a bank. Well, why not, instead of buying the house cash, use a reverse mortgage to purchase take a reverse mortgage out for $200,000 and then come to cash with the other $200,000. And then you're in a position where you have $200,000 in the bank and you're still not having to pay a mortgage payment for the rest of your life if you choose to. Now, yes, there's interest in things like that that's being added on to that, but you could also make the argument that one, you could take that $200,000 and it'd be a much higher and better quality of life having that cash that you can get to, or you could take that $200,000 and invest it in something that's going to pay dividends. So the fact is you have control over it. And that's really one of the main things that people don't talk about the reverse mortgage is putting seniors in the driver's seat of their retirement. When you have your funds locked up in cash or locked up in equity, or you're paying a big mortgage payment, you're letting the bank dictate to you how your retirement is going to go. And you're also letting the bank dictate to you your quality of life, basically. So let's move on here. So why are people taking these out? Well, the number one reason, as we went over, is cash flow. The optional payments are a huge benefit for a lot of folks. Asset protection, using that line of credit as a safety net. It is a non-recourse loan as well, so you're never going to owe more on the property than what it's worth. Doesn't require repayment until the last borrower leaves the home. So it's a husband and wife. I have older men that come to me to do these loans because they want to make sure that if something happens to them, that their wife is going to be taken care of. Vice versa. If something happens to the wife, the husband is going to have a place to stay and not have to come out of pocket every single month for a mortgage payment or for whatever the case may be. And I get this question asked a lot. What happens when someone passes or they get moved into a facility? Basically, when it's no longer someone's primary residence, they don't live there 6 months in a day, whether they pass, move into a facility, or say, to heck with this, we're going to Costa Rica and to live out our days. When that happens, the heirs will have 6 months to decide what to do with the property. And then after that, they can apply for 2 free 3-month extensions. So you're going to have 12 months to decide what to do with the property. It is the most friendly program when it comes to that situation, because most, like on a regular mortgage, you got to make that mortgage payment. Even though the person has passed, the mortgage, if it's not paid within a certain time, they can start foreclosure proceedings. So you don't have that grace period with a lot of mortgage programs. The reverse mortgage is really designed for this. It's also a great way to purchase property. There's 3 ways that you can unlock your equity. You can get a lump sum, so you show up with a big suitcase full of cash for you. You do a line of credit, which is a great flexible option. Take money if you need it. If you don't need it, you just let it sit there. And one of the things that's very unique to the reverse mortgage line of credit is that it does have a growth rate attached to it. So you may have a line of credit that starts off at $30,000. Well, next year it's $35,000. The year after that, it's $42,000. The year after that, it's $50,000. So it'll grow over time, and it does grow with current rates. Well, what's the big talk, especially last year? Rates have started to come down a little bit, but last year was, the rates are so high. Well, if you're in a reverse mortgage, your growth rate is attached to that rate. So when we got up to the 7s, when we got up to the 8s, guess what people were earning on their reverse mortgage line of credit? 7-8%. It's not a bad deal. It's almost like having another savings account that's attached to the house, of course. And then the third way is to actually have the reverse mortgage pay you back each month, kind of like an annuity. A lot of people don't choose that option because you don't get back nearly as much as you think you might, but it's an option nonetheless. Well, I try to keep these at 30 minutes. We're going to wrap things up. The common clients that we see, number one are people that are struggling to make their mortgage payment each month. That's really or struggling to make their monthly living expenses. That's where this program really shines, because it puts people in a position where they can reduce their debt. Not reduce their debt, but really just trade their debt. So you got a big car payment, let's say $500 car payment. You own your house free and clear. You're struggling to make that car payment each month. Well, if you convert it into a reverse mortgage, and then you not only will you have more than likely have a line of credit that you can access later, but if you switch that debt out for the car payment, then all of a sudden your payment's optional. Instead of having to crack that $500 nut every single month, well, it's optional now. Yes, you're going to have negative amortization if you choose that. If you choose it, it is a choice. You can still make a monthly payment if you want, but they put the control in your hands. So again, my name is Zach Smith. I'm the owner of Chariot Financial. I do this every week, or try to do it every week. There's a few weeks when I don't make it, but this week we made it. And if you want to see past episodes of this, you can Google me, Zach P. Smith, Chariot Financial. You can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our YouTube. And you can go to our websites, chariotreverse.com or happyhousetoday.com. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope everyone that sees this to the end is having a blessed day. I wish you much prosperity. And, more importantly is peace. As I've gotten older, we can make a ton of money, but you can't make more time. And a lot of times when we spend our time wisely, we feel more at peace. That I'm going to stand by that. So I wish you much peace today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if there's anything we can ever do to be of service, don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.